The twin moons over Varelia shimmered above the marble towers, casting silver light on the Queen's War Council room. Thick silence filled the chamber as alien nobles stared at the human envoy standing alone before them. He was tall, calm, arms crossed and eyes scanning each armored guard with curiosity, not fear. Queen Shiraya sat on her throne carved from stardust stone, her flaming red tail resting along the edge. She wore her ceremonial armor, glinting under the hall's glow, with her long orange hair flowing like fire. Her ears twitched slightly as the human spoke without bowing. "So," he said, voice casual, "you brought me here to threaten me. Or thank me." Gasps echoed across the room. One of the nobles reached for his blade, but the Queen raised her hand slightly. Everything stilled. No one dared defy her command. The human, named Rylan, remained calm. He didn't flinch, even when every soldier in the room stared like wolves at fresh meat. "You think yourself brave," hissed Lord Talvik, the largest of the Queen's generals. "You step into our court and dare mock our traditions?" "I'm not mocking," Rylan replied. "I'm just not impressed." Queen Shiraya's sharp eyes narrowed, but she said nothing. Instead, she descended the throne, her armored heels clicking against the obsidian floor. Her expression was unreadable, but her tail flicked once behind her. "Why have you come, human?" she asked. "Earth was attacked 3 days ago," Rylan said, "by ships bearing your royal sigil. I came to ask why." The court erupted in shouts and protest. The Queen raised her hand again. Silence followed instantly. Her gaze darkened as she turned to her council. "No such order came from me," she said. "If it did, I would know." Rylan's eyes locked with hers. He was measuring her, trying to see if she lied. But all he saw was cold fury, not at him, but at whoever dared use her name for war. The Queen turned to the guards and spoke one word: "Leave." None hesitated. Even the boldest flinched at the tone. Soon, only she and Rylan remained in the massive chamber. "I vow to protect you, Earthling," she said firmly. "Whoever is behind this dares challenge my name, my rule, and that I will not allow." Rylan tilted his head and smiled. "Protect me?" he said. "From who?" Shiraya didn't smile. "From the ones who want you silenced before you uncover the truth," she said. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Rylan walked toward the throne, looked at the vacant seat, and then at her. "You've got enemies in your house, Your Highness," he said. "And now they've got me in their sights too. Hope you're ready to fight." "I was born in war," Shiraya replied. "But you, human, what were you born for?" Rylan grinned, sharp and challenging. "To end it," he said. Far above them, a cloaked drone hovered quietly. Someone was watching, listening, and the Queen's declaration of protection had just painted a target not only on Raylan but on herself. Raylan walked beside Queen Shiraya through the shadowed corridors of her palace. The walls, though polished and royal, echoed with tension. Each step they took seemed to draw unseen eyes, whispers behind stone, and the faint hum of cloaked surveillance drones above their heads. "Your enemies," Rylan said as he glanced around. "Do they often spy inside your own walls?" "They're not mine," Shiraya replied without turning. "They belong to the ones pretending to serve me." The Queen's voice was steady, but Rylan could feel the storm just beneath the surface. The alien monarch who had promised to protect him was now walking him straight into the heart of betrayal. As they passed a large open hall, 2 guards snapped to attention. They wore her colors, her crest, but their posture betrayed hesitation. One looked directly at Rylan and then quickly away. He wasn't just afraid, he was ashamed. "You see that?" Rylan asked quietly. "Yes," Shiraya replied. "I see it every day." They entered a chamber guarded by thick metallic doors, sealed tight behind them. Inside stood a holographic map of the galaxy, projected above a glass table. Glowing red markers blinked over Earth, Mars, and one near the edge of the Varelian Empire's borders. 3 fleets, Rylan said, pointing at the markers. Only one was known to us before the attack. The other 2 moved without broadcasting. Signals, that's not a mistake. That's coordinated stealth. And it wasn't me, Shareya said. But someone wants you to think it was. Someone within your chain of command, Rylan added. The Queen narrowed her eyes at the map. Lord Talvek, she whispered. The name hung in the air like poison. Raylan didn't know the man well, but he'd seen him earlier, the one who threatened him. A man with too much pride and too little fear of the throne. We can't accuse him directly, she said. Not without proof. His supporters are many. Rylan leaned on the table and looked her straight in the eye. Then, let's find proof, he said. Because I didn't come here to die, and you didn't swear to protect me just for appearances. She studied him again. This time, her expression softened, only slightly. You remind me of someone I once knew, she said. He died speaking. Truth. They made sure no one heard him. Well, Rylan said with a slight smirk, I speak loud. Outside, the sky began to darken. Artificial night was falling over the palace. But the city below filled with both loyal citizens and hidden. Traitors never truly slept. Shareya activated a hidden panel in the wall. A screen emerged showing security footage. They rewound it together, scanning hours of the palace gates. There it was, 5 soldiers entering the Queen's wing hours before the human arrived. All wore her crest. But one, barely noticeable, had a different boot print. Replay that frame, Rylan said. She zoomed in. The boot print had a curved sole standard issue for a different house. One loyal to Talvek. You were right, she whispered. He's moving beneath my feet. But now, Rylan said, stepping back, he knows I'm here, and he'll strike fast. A sudden blare echoed across the chamber. Lights flickered. Red, emergency alarms rang out. The Queen's private chambers had been breached. Stay here, she ordered. No chance, Rylan said. We move together. Shareya drew her blade from the wall. It shimmered with plasma light. She moved with elegance and deadly grace. Rylan followed her with his fists clenched. He didn't need a weapon to be dangerous. They sprinted through the corridors, down twisting paths toward her chambers. 2. Guards lay unconscious outside the door. The mark of stun blades on their armor showed precision. No blood, but efficient. Shareya burst through the door. The chamber was ransacked. Her personal data cores were gone. Windows shattered. The message was clear, not an assassination. A warning. They know we're close, she said. They're scared, Rylan added. Suddenly, a distant explosion shook the palace. Fire lit the sky outside. The enemy wasn't hiding anymore. The war wasn't just coming. It had already begun. Shareya looked at him, her expression like steel. This is no longer politics, she said. This is rebellion. Raylan took a deep breath and looked out the broken window. Then I guess we'll burn their lies to the ground. Below, enemy forces wearing stolen royal armor marched toward the gates. Above, ships uncloaked, aiming at the palace. Inside, the human envoy and the alien queen prepared to make their stand. Blasts shook the outer walls of the palace. Smoke curled from the eastern tower as alarms howled across the capital. The traitors had finally revealed themselves. Shareya and Rylan stood together on the balcony, watching as enemy soldiers disguised in her colors moved through the main square. The people were scattering in panic, but some were watching with strange calm, as if they had known this moment would come. They're not just soldiers, Rylan said. They're prepared. This wasn't rushed. This was planned months ago. I trained half of them myself, Shareya replied. Which means I also know how to stop them. From a hidden door behind the throne, the Queen summoned her shadow guard, 3 elite warriors who owed allegiance to her and her bloodline only. They wore black armor without insignia and moved like silent storms. "The rebels know our defenses," said the lead shadow guard. "But they do not know about the vault gate. It's off network. We can exit the city undetected. Then we go," Sharia said. "Gather our loyal forces. We strike from the outside. Not from this throne." Rylan tilted his head. "You're giving up the palace?" "I'm saving the kingdom," she replied. The four descended through the hidden passage beneath the palace floors. Carved from stone and layered with alien metals, the tunnels had not been used in over 50 years. Dust clung to the walls, but the path remained solid. Rylan kept glancing back. Not because of fear, but because instinct warned him something was following. "What's down here besides us?" he asked. "Nothing living," Sharia answered, "but many dead." The queen paused before an old metal door. She placed her palm on the scanner, and a deep chime echoed through the passage. The door opened slowly, revealing a transport vehicle. With no insignia, long since forgotten by the rest of her court. "We're heading to the cliffs," Sharia said. "There's an old outpost there. If Talvik's forces control the skies, that's our only signal point." "Then I hope this thing still flies," Rylan muttered. The shadow guard took positions as the transport launched. It shuddered once, then hummed to life. Engines pulsed blue, and the ship rose through the ceiling hatch. A moment later, they were slicing through dark clouds above the city. Rylan watched out the window. He saw flames rising from civilian towers. It wasn't just a coup. It was a purge. Anyone loyal to the Queen was being rooted out. "They're erasing you," he said quietly, "but I'm not gone yet," Sharia answered. As they reached the cliffs, enemy drones broke formation and gave chase. Raylan grabbed a turret mount and aimed. The controls were alien, but he had studied enough during his briefings. He fired in tight bursts, taking down 2 drones before the rest scattered. "You're not bad with alien tech," Sharia said. "Better than I am with alien politics," Rylan replied. They landed near the old outpost a facility built into the mountain rocks. Overgrown and rusting, it had once served as a war shelter during the early civil wars. The Queen entered a code into a stone panel. Hidden metal doors slid open with a hiss. Inside, the lights flickered on. Old maps, communication, arrays, and dusty armor lined the walls. Raylan walked past a sealed locker and opened it. Inside was an older model of Varelian weapons, plasma spears, disc grenades, and a helmet bearing the royal crest. "This place is a relic," he said. "It's also our last real chance," Sharia replied. The shadow guard secured the perimeter, while the Queen activated a communication uplink. Static buzzed through the console. She entered Earth's diplomatic frequency and sent out a burst message. "This is Queen Sharia of Varelia. Earth's envoy is safe. A coup has begun within my house. Request immediate relay of this message to allied systems. The attack on Earth was not from my throne." The message blinked green. Sent. No reply, but Rylan nodded. At least now someone out there knows the truth. A crash-out snapped their attention. One of the shadow guards stumbled in, armor smoking. "They found us," he said. "Talvik's hunters. They're using scent tracking and old patrol routes. We must leave again." Raylan grabbed a plasma spear and tossed one to the Queen. She caught it without pause. "I never liked hiding anyway," she said. The team moved into the rocky terrain, using the mountain paths to stay ahead of the approaching enemy. Gunfire echoed behind them. Raylan ducked, rolled, and countered with 2 quick throws. One enemy dropped. Another hesitated just long enough for Sharia to strike him down. They climbed higher, wind howling around them. Above, Talvik's gunships lit the sky with red scanners. If they reached the peak, they could hijack the old signal tower and broadcast to every system beyond the Empire's wall. "This isn't just about Earth anymore," Rylan said. "If Talvik wins, he gets the galaxy's silence. Then we make sure he loses," Sharia replied. They reached the signal tower as dawn began to break. Rylan looked down from the ledge. Troops were gathering below like a swarm. There would be no retreat, no backup in time. Just them and the truth they carried. He looked at the Queen, and she nodded. "We fight here," she said. Together, they turned toward the enemy. Wind howled over the mountain peak as the sun bled over the horizon. The light struck the broken signal tower, casting long shadows across the rocks. Rylan stood near the edge, gripping the plasma spear tight. Below them, Talvik's forces were climbing steadily. They were too many to count. Shiraya moved through the old control chamber, her armor streaked with dust and dried energy burns. She slammed a panel open and pulled out a core relay device. "If we power this, I can override every communication line in the outer rim," she said. "But we'll only get one shot. Then we hold this place until you're ready," Rylan answered. The Shadow Guard formed a perimeter at the highest point. They worked with silent speed, laying traps, setting trip mines, and scanning the cliff paths. Rylan had never seen soldiers so focused. They moved as if death was familiar to them, as if it walked beside them always. "They'll come from the east slope," said one of the guards. "That's the only route not buried by rockslide." "Then we make it a death route," Rylan said. Below them, gunships circled like metal. Hawks, drones buzzed above the cliffs, scanning for heat. The rebels were closing in, and they were confident. They thought the Queen had no fight left. They thought the human envoy would break first. They were wrong. The first blast came at dawn. A drone spotted movement, fired, and was instantly taken out by a trip mine. Screams followed. Shiraya watched the explosion from the window and turned to Rylan. "They want to kill me," she said, "but they're afraid to face me directly." "Let's give them a reason to be," Rylan replied. Talvik's soldiers stormed the slope. Black armor shimmered as they charged upward, shouting war chants. Plasma bolts lit the sky. The Shadow Guard struck with speed and silence, leaping between rocks and slicing through the front lines. Rylan charged forward, plasma spear in hand. He struck one enemy in the chest, turned, and ducked a blast. Another came at him, and he punched forward, using his momentum to throw the attacker off the cliff. He moved like water, raw power and precision combined. Behind him, Shiraya's voice echoed through the control chamber. "Keep them back, I'm almost in." "I'm trying," Rylan shouted over the chaos. More rebels poured in. A Shadow Guard fell, pierced by a plasma bolt. Shiraya saw it but did not flinch. Her fingers danced over the alien keyboard. Sparks flew from the panel. "Just a few more seconds," she said. Suddenly, a new figure stepped into view. Clad in red-trimmed armor, tall and cruel-eyed, Lord Talvik himself emerged from the smoke. He climbed alone, slowly, as if he already saw the outcome written in stone. He held no weapon. Just his voice. "Queen Shiraya," he called out. "This world no longer wants you. Stand down. Spare your name further shame." The Queen did not respond. "I will not harm your precious human," he added. "If he kneels and leaves this world, he may live." Rylan's laugh cut through the gunfire. "You think I'd run from you?" Talvik's eyes narrowed. "Then die with her." He raised his hand. Energy surged across his armor. A bolt of red plasma flew forward. Rylan jumped, felt the heat rush past his shoulder, and rolled. He stood again, breathing hard, eyes burning with challenge. "You missed," Rylan said. Talvik leaped up the rocks like a predator. Rylan met him halfway. They clashed with force that cracked stone. Talvik fought with skill and fury. Rylan countered each strike with instinct, grit, and sheer defiance. Neither gave ground. Inside, Shiraya's voice rang through the chamber. Signal loaded. Broadcasting now. A deep hum filled the sky. The broken tower flared to life. From its core, a pulse of energy shot into the clouds. The signal moved fast, spreading like wildfire through every Varelian satellite. Across the stars, every loyal captain received the Queen's truth. Talvik sensed the shift. "No," he snarled, "Rylan." Struck him hard across the face. "Yes." Talvik stumbled. Rylan didn't wait. He drove the plasma spear into the traitor's shoulder. Talvik screamed and fell back, tumbling down the rocks. His men hesitated. The signal had reached them. Their comms buzzed with new orders. Real orders. From the Queen herself. "Fall back," someone yelled. "It's over. We've been exposed." The mountain fell silent again. The rebels broke rank. Some dropped weapons. Others simply fled. The Shadow Guard didn't chase. They had no need to. Shareya stepped out of the chamber, blood on her arm but victory in her stance. She looked down at the scattered enemy and then at the human who had just stood his ground beside her. "You said you were born to end war," she said. "Today I believe you." Raylan leaned against a rock, breathing heavy but grinning. "Told you I speak loud." They looked over the mountain together. The sky was burning, but it was theirs again. The fight was not finished, but the turning point had come. Asterisk. The command towers of Varelia buzzed with chaos. Reports flew across channels, contradicting one another. Some claimed the Queen was dead. Others claimed she had destroyed the palace herself. But then, the true signal arrived. Clear. Authoritative. Her voice, undeniable. "I am Queen Shareya. I still reign. And those who raised weapons against the crown will answer." Across a dozen worlds, loyal fleets realigned. Captains who had held back now acted. Governors who once stayed silent issued orders. The rebellion had cracked, but it was not crushed. Not yet. Back at the mountain, Raylan sat against the signal tower, shoulder bruised, hand scraped, but still smiling. His fight with Talvik had been brutal, but it wasn't what tired him. It was the weight of everything else. The lies, the politics, the silence. Shareya walked toward him with her helmet tucked under her arm. Her steps were steady, but her armor bore the scars of the battle. She sat beside him without a word for a moment. The cold wind whipped through her red hair. "You did more than I expected," she said. "You expected me to run," Rylan replied. "No," she said. "I expected you to die." He chuckled once. "You're honest. I like that." She looked out at the morning sky. Talvik's still alive. Injured, humiliated, but not gone. He'll vanish now, regroup, spread his poison from the shadows. Then we hunt him, Rylan said. And cut him off before he grows back. It's not that easy, she replied. He has allies, wealth, secrets hidden in corners even I cannot reach. Rylan stood and stretched. Well, lucky for you, I've always been good at digging into places people want hidden. A shadow guard approached with urgency. He bowed low and handed the Queen a data chip. Intercepted message from orbit. Unauthorized ship just entered from the black side. Stealth class. Unknown origin. Shareya inserted the chip into her wrist console. A projection appeared, showing a sleek vessel slicing through space. Black hull, no lights, no ID code. But the signature trail wasn't Varelian. It wasn't human either. That ship's here for me, Rylan said. You're sure? She asked. Yeah, he said, because I've seen it once before. During the attack on Earth, the Queen frowned. Then someone's still playing both sides. Or all three, Rylan said. Without delay, they boarded a scout ship and took to the skies. The stealth vessel had landed just outside the lower canyons, where old ruins lay buried. It hadn't broadcast. It hadn't called for help. It was just waiting. As they approached, sensors jammed. Visuals blurred. The Queen's pilot tried to reroute, but nothing worked. Shareya looked to Rylan. Are you certain about this? I'm not certain about anything, he said. But that ship's the key. They landed 2 ridges away and made the rest of the journey on foot. The landscape was dry, full of cracked stone and broken machines from wars long forgotten. At the heart of the canyon, the black ship rested like a predator waiting in silence. Shareya approached with her blade drawn. Rylan followed, hand near. The hilt of his sidearm. No sound came from the ship. No movement. Then, the hatch opened. A single figure walked out. She was tall, slender, dressed in deep violet armor that shimmered with a strange light. Her face was smooth, pale, with 2 dark eyes that revealed no emotion. She had no flag, no banner. Only a silver badge with a symbol neither of them recognized. "I come with a message," the stranger said. "From who?" Shareya asked. "From those who wish to keep balance," the woman answered. "Your war threatens that balance. Your people attacked Earth." Rylan said. "You started this." "We started nothing," the woman replied. "But we will finish it if you don't." Shareya stepped forward. "Who are you?" The woman's lips curved slightly. "A warning. That's all you need to know." Before anyone could speak again, the woman stepped back and vanished. Not into the ship, but into light. She shimmered, broke into particles, and was gone. The ship blinked once, then melted into the rock beneath it like it had never been there. Rylan stared at the empty spot. That was new. The queen looked shaken, but composed. She was no ordinary spy. That tech was ancient. Rylan turned. To her, "You've got a 3rd player in this game, Your Highness." She nodded slowly. "One we can't see. One who doesn't want peace or war. Just silence." Rylan stared at the horizon. "Then we make noise. Loud enough the galaxy can't ignore it." The mountain wind had faded, but tension remained like a shadow clinging to every corner of the Queen's outpost. After the strange woman vanished, silence stretched for long minutes. Shareya stared at the ground where the stealth ship had been. Nothing remained, no metal, no signal, no trace. "I don't like this," Rylan said. "She didn't threaten us, but that wasn't kindness. That was control. She didn't ask." "She warned," Shareya replied. "The Shadow Guard scouted the area twice, scanning for residue or cloaked drones. Nothing. Whoever sent that message didn't want war. They wanted obedience without reason." That was even more dangerous. Back inside the outpost, Shareya summoned her personal archivist. An elder named Corinne, one of the last memory holders of the royal line. His eyes were pale, voice like cracking paper. When she described the ship and the woman, he grew quiet. "Long ago," Corinne said, "before the rise of the throne, there were watchers from the Black Edge. They called themselves the Quiet Order. They never ruled. They simply removed those who disturbed the balance." "Assassins," Rylan said. "Worse," Corinne whispered. "They erase wars before they begin. And if they fail, they erase entire species." Shareya clenched her fist. "Why show themselves now?" "Because," Rylan answered, "we're getting too close to the truth. And truth causes noise." The Queen rose from her seat. "Talvik's coup. The attack on Earth. The interference now. It's all connected. And it's time we pull the thread." She looked at Corin. "Prepare the star map. I want every known rebel cell marked. Every black zone too." Raylan joined her at the map. "And while you do that, I'll do what humans do best." "Which is?" she asked. "Agitate," he said. "That." Same day, the Queen sent a royal decree across her surviving channels. She declared an emergency summit on the planet Izara, a neutral ground known for its ancient peace treaties. All houses loyal to the throne were to send envoys. And so would Earth. Rylan prepared his words carefully. As Earth's voice, his speech would echo across hundreds of systems. But he didn't plan to play safe. Safe hadn't saved anyone, when they landed on Izara. The city was already buzzing with fleets from a dozen alien houses, some allies, some opportunists. Some quiet enemies wearing polite masks. The summit took place under the open sky, within a circular stone amphitheater older than most civilizations. Shreya stood before them all in full ceremonial armor. Her voice cut through wind and whispers. She named Talvik as a traitor. She confirmed her alliance with Earth. And then to every ruler, she said one thing that turned the gathering cold. We are being watched, controlled by something older than our empires. You've seen the ships, you've heard the warnings. But we will not obey. Silence. Murmurs followed. Some delegates rose in protest. Others sat frozen. The mention of ancient watchers was taboo. It wasn't just myth. It was fear. Then Rylan stepped forward. No armor, no crown. Just a human with a firm gaze and steady voice. Your empires are mighty, your armies endless. Yet one silent threat makes you tremble. I come from Earth, a world nearly burned because someone played a game above our heads. I won't be silent. Neither should you. The crowd shifted. The speech didn't roar. It didn't demand, it challenged. And that, they respected. Later, in private, Shreya met with 3 high lords who had once backed Talvik. One admitted his regret. Another asked for terms of surrender. The third handed her a sealed data crystal. It contained coordinates to a hidden archive Talvik's secret base. She brought it to Rylan that evening. He took one look at the location and frowned. That's not just a hideout, he said. That's one of the Quiet Order's blind spots. A place where scanners go dark, Shreya added. He nodded. Then that's where we go. You do realize, she said slowly. If we step into that shadow, we may not return. We will, Rylan said. Because the galaxy doesn't need more silence. It needs someone willing to shout the truth. They returned to the ship together. The mission was no longer about politics, no longer about survival. It was about revealing the hand pulling the strings. And both of them, scarred but unbroken, had chosen the same path. The ship descended into the dead zone, a region marked on no official map. The stars above seemed dimmer here. The scanners on board flickered, refusing to lock onto anything. Even the engine strained against invisible resistance as they neared the surface. The planet had no name, only rumors. Covered in dense black rock, the landscape stretched like scars across a forgotten world. There were no cities, no lights. Just stone monoliths rising from the dust like broken teeth. Inside the cockpit, Rylan checked the last message from Earth. It contained only 2 words, be careful. The rest had cut out mid-transmission. We're not alone here, he said quietly. Shreya stood beside him, staring at the surface. This place feels older than memory. When they landed, the ground trembled beneath the ship, not violently. Just enough to remind them the planet was awake. The Queen stepped out first, blade in hand. Rylan followed with a light cannon strapped to his back. The Shadow Guard remained on board as backup, a narrow path wound between the stone towers. Each pillar was carved with alien symbols no one could translate. Shreya ran her hand across one as they passed. It pulsed faintly at her touch. They're not stone, she said. They're message stores. Messages from who? Rylan asked. From the ones who came before, she replied. The coordinates from the data crystal led them into a hollow structure at the mountain base. Inside, it opened into a vast chamber. Dozens of tall pods lined the walls, each sealed tight. In the center stood a control platform, untouched for generations. Shreya approached the console. As her palm touched the surface, the room came to life. The pods hissed and glowed. One screen lit up, revealing logs written in an ancient dialect. Slowly, the system began to translate. Archive, Project Silence. Rylan frowned. What is Project Silence? Shreya's eyes narrowed. A weapon, not to destroy, but to erase. Whole civilizations, their culture, their history, their memory. They scrolled through the data. Earth's name appeared on the third page, alongside others. Some were long gone. Some still existed. The Quiet Order hadn't just interfered, they had shaped galactic history by deleting it. A chill ran down Ryland's spine. They've been choosing who survives for centuries. They've rewritten reality, Sharia whispered. Suddenly, a hum filled the air. One of the pods cracked open. From inside stepped a figure in violet armor, identical to the woman they had met days ago. She looked at them without surprise. "You should not be here," she said. Raylan aimed his weapon. "We go where truth hides." The woman raised a hand. "This place is not yours to awaken. Its balance is sacred." Sharia stepped forward. "Your balance is built on lies." A beam of energy shot from the stranger's hand, knocking the weapon from Ryland's grasp. He rolled, dodged another strike, and drew his sidearm. But the woman didn't attack again. She stared at Sharia. "You are not like the others," she said. "Your blood holds memory." "I am royal," Sharia replied. "My line predates your silence." The woman paused. "Then you remember what comes if the vault is opened." "I remember injustice," Sharia said. "And I choose to break it." She activated the final sequence. The pods began opening one by one. Inside were not soldiers, but records. Visual archives, testimonies, voices of lost species. Evidence of what had been stolen from time. The woman stepped back. "You cannot stop the chaos that follows." Raylan raised his weapon again. "We're not trying to stop it. We're just making sure the galaxy finally hears it." A deep rumble shook the chamber. The mountain reacted to the activation. Lights blazed down corridors never meant to shine again. Far above, in orbit, satellites that had been sleeping for ages began to broadcast. Sharia grabbed a relic from the console. A data crystal formed of living metal. She held it tightly, knowing it contained every secret buried by the Quiet Order. The stranger did not fight. She turned and walked into the shadows of the chamber, vanishing between the pillars. Her message was clear. They had opened something that would not close again. Ryland turned to Sharia. "So what now? We return," she said. "Not with weapons, with truth." They made their way back through the Black Valley. Behind them, the chamber remained alive. The galaxy would soon feel the weight of memory long denied. The capital of Varelia stood still. For the first time in memory, no ships moved, no orders were shouted, and no banners flew. Above the throne tower, a single signal pulsed across the stars. The vault had spoken. Across 100 systems, screens blinked awake. Citizens, soldiers, governors, and enemies alike watched as lost truths poured out in light and sound. Images of silenced species, stolen histories, and galactic manipulations played for all to see. Ryland stood with arms folded on the Queen's balcony. Behind him, the Shadow Guard stood at full alert, not for invasion, but in reverence. The truth had landed harder than any weapon ever could. Sharia wore no crown now. She stood beside Raylan in light armor, not as a monarch, but as a messenger. Her voice echoed from the center platform to the highest towers of the city. "We were ruled by silence. But silence is no longer our master." Her words reached other worlds. On Earth, the United Council rose to their feet. On Cernak, former rebels dropped their rifles. On Nyrix, a child looked up and saw the image of a lost world once erased from history. The Quiet Order did not respond, not directly. But their shadows began to shrink. Fear was their shield, and now fear was fading. Where once they had silenced generations, now their name was met with defiance. In the war chamber, old nobles demanded answers. Some had backed Talvek, some had whispered doubt in private. But none dared stand against her now. The evidence was beyond denial. The Queen pointed toward the screen and let the voices of the lost speak for her. Talvik was found on a distant moon. trying to escape using falsified credentials. He was dragged back in chains. His trial lasted only 1 hour. He did not deny the crimes. He only asked one question before the sentence was given. Do you truly believe truth will protect you? Sharia answered him herself. No, but truth makes us worth protecting. He was exiled beyond the rim, stripped of title and legacy. The sentence, though light in the eyes of many, carried a deeper weight. Out there, beyond the mapped systems, truth could not be hidden nor enforced. He would be forgotten in the same way he had erased others. That evening, as the skies calmed, Rylan walked alone in the gardens below the throne. The trees here were shaped by gravity art, each one bent toward the stars. A path of soft lights guided him toward a pool of still water. Sharia found him there. She sat beside him without a word. The silence between them was different now. It wasn't control. It was peace. You could return to Earth now, she said. I could, Raylan replied. They'll reward you, medal you, probably try to draft you into something diplomatic. He smirked. I'm not made for diplomacy. She looked at him carefully. Then what are you made for? Moments like this, he said. She tilted her head. Peaceful moments? No. He answered. Moments that change everything. The pool before them shimmered. In its reflection, the stars were no longer distant. They felt closer, warmer, as if the galaxy itself was listening. I thought I was just a guest here, Rylan said. But this place feels more like home than any station I've served on. Then stay, she said simply. He looked at her. You mean as an envoy? She met his gaze. I mean as someone I trust, someone this world needs. Someone I need, he nodded once. Not an answer, but an understanding. The following days brought rebuilding. Not just of structures, but of memory. Entire histories were reintroduced too. Schools, art from erased cultures found life again. Refugees from forgotten bloodlines returned with tears and songs. Rylan worked closely with Sharia, not as her subordinate, but as her partner. Together, they redefined the meaning of alliance. Together, they built bridges across races, systems, and generations. In the Queen's Hall, no throne stood anymore. Only a long council table with room for every voice. And at its center too. Chairs, side by side. The galaxy had not become perfect. Old powers still clung to fear. Shadows still moved in quiet corners. But something had changed forever. Truth had found its voice, and silence no longer ruled.